Hello everyone, a very good morning to you. Welcome to Sunday morning here in Mugello. And the sun is shining, the temperature is agreeable, so too is this wonderful racing circuit, and we are here really rather early in the morning for our first qualifying session. We have 8:56 and but a few seconds local time, ready to rock and roll with qualifying session for the Copa Shell and 488 from the Ferrari Challenge. That's a lovely little indicator of where we are then, rolling through the Tuscan countryside. We have some 26 cars that during the course of our qualifying session of 30 minutes will be taking to the track to try and set the very best lap time they can, which will ensure them an awesome grid position. Our calendar for 2024 is brilliant. Mugello here to kick off the season, then we move to Balaton in Hungary, then it's Jerez, then it's Portimao, La Casale, Nürburgring, and of course Imola. And very much looking forward to each and every one of the venues that we will visit this year as part of our Ferrari Challenge Europe 2024 calendar. It's a real mix of circuits. The one we know pretty little about is Balaton. Alongside me is Nico Spalek, as always, an ever-present. And I must say, we've been to Hungary on a number of occasions with the Ferrari Challenge to the Budapest circuit, and now a brand new one at Balaton is one that I'm particularly looking forward to. 21 degrees, 15 degrees, 77% humidity, 1 kilometre per hour of wind, which most of it is coming from this microphone. Balaton, it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, definitely. Good morning, everybody. It is something new, and for the Ferrari Challenge in its 32nd season, it is a new track. We are trying to find out how many circuits the Ferrari Challenge has visited in its history. It's quite a lot, certainly across Europe, and then obviously you add the series in Japan and previously Asia Pacific, you add North America, you add the UK, and it is quite an astonishing number. It is quite an astonishing heritage that is continued in 2024 with the brand new 296 Challenge, an amazing car, and we saw it on track in Europe for the first time yesterday, and boy, it was impressive. The lap times were impressive, but also was the reaction by the drivers. They all love it.
And that for me is a real testament to the way Ferrari produce a car. So we see, we were with Pino Frascaro, who we can see here just a few moments ago, enjoying a light breakfast. I refer to Nico and myself rather than Pino. He's getting into his car now. What's curious about this particular qualifying session is we were just extolling the virtues of the 296 car as we see Thomas Loflat about to get into his racing machine with Sabina, his wife, alongside him. We were extolling the virtues of this wonderful 296 car. Curiously, in this session, we have some of the previous 488 Challenge Evo cars as well, because there are just so many that want to still take part, and you know, for the factory to have delivered as many 296s as they have, you know, we still have the opportunity to see what has been a truly wonderfully winning car in the 488 is still competing as well. So we'll see a mix of those in this qualifying session as Christoph Herney adjusts his seat to make sure he's perfectly comfortable. Christoph Herney, who for Zenith Scuderia is returning to the Ferrari Challenge, and it's lovely to see Christoph Herney, who has not only raced in the wonderful Ferrari Challenge, but also in single-seaters as well. And Christoph is a really, really talented driver. Right at the head of the queue is Murat Kuada-Ruglu. Here goes the light from red to green. And Murat is another one of the returning drivers, Nico, and it's good to see Murat back again. And there we can see Christian Kinch, who I spent some time with last night. He's driving one of the old 488s and really enjoyed himself yesterday because he was on the podium with that man that we just seeing go through. And that's Tommy Lindroth, and it was a mix of the big and the not so big. On the podium as both Christian Kinch and Tommy Lindroth were up there, and what was remarkable, if you didn't see the program live yesterday, you must try and re-watch it, because the podium ceremony for Shell and 488 was awesome. In both Christian Kinch and Tommy Lindroth, tradition and schedule went out of the window as far as they were concerned. They were both so delighted to be on the podium together that they couldn't be bothered with the trophy presentations, and literally the moment they arrived on the podium steps, broke open the champagne and started dancing. I mean, such frivolity, Nico.
Yeah, we're not for frivolity. No, yes we are. Oh yes we are, and I think everybody here is really enjoying themselves, especially now towards the weekend when the racing got going, and also coincided with the weather turning from pretty rainy to pretty remarkable and very nice here in the Tuscany region of Italy. And as we can see, the drivers take the first few turns on cold tires, still just going through their warm-up routines.
And that car is the very car that propelled Fabrizio Fontana to victory in the 488 class. And to say he was delighted about taking that victory is something of an understatement, because he's new to the Ferrari Challenge. He's new to circuit racing, Nico, having come from a very sideways, gravel-throwing, rallying motor racing career. So, yes, he took to it really well. James Wyland is an ever-present in the Ferrari Challenge, and it's great to see James competing in most of the European rounds this year, as well as selected North American rounds as well. James is, as I say, he's one of the ever-present in the Ferrari Challenge, and can never bet against him having success. It was really nice yesterday to see his young son Max here, who is a kart racer, and doubtless will have opportunities to be racing in Challenge in years to come. Right, James is rolling downhill now, and I regret very much I wasn't able to get around the track yesterday, as my colleague alongside me did. My preferring to take advantage of the hospitality rather than that's actually not true. I was still working.
Yeah.
But I know, you and I have had the pleasure of walking this track on a number of occasions, and you did the same again last night. And we did have an interruption yesterday when very, very unusually a part of the track became dislodged. And, I think you used the track walk as an opportunity for you to just ascertain exactly what it was that had come away. And I think it was probably a drain, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was on the exit of turn 7. A drainage cover had come loose, and they covered it as quickly as they could. I mean, it's not as straightforward as just, you put something there and then ask the drivers to not run over it. It just doesn't work that way, so they had to make sure everything was safe, and they did that preliminarily, and then after the racing had concluded, obviously they addressed that issue more thoroughly and put in some new drainage canals. So there we are, back in a mint condition, almost state of the circuit, and obviously that means all the drivers can take to the track, including Vincenzo Gibino, who's still biding his time, focusing, as you can see, preparing, and he will go out in one of the 488 Challenge Evo cars, certainly in a few moments. There is the 132 car, steered by returning Tibor Valent, who has been a former race winner and comes back into the Ferrari Challenge in 2024 with brand new machinery, brand new motivation, and brand new success.
Oh, his intentions were absolutely to be P1, and that's what he delivered in the race yesterday. Well done to Tibor Valent. Tibor's son, of course, Benz, is also racing in the Ferrari Challenge. But may I say, the Ferrari Budapest Rosso Corsa driver said this is how you do it, and proved it by going out there and winning the race yesterday. You can see him, he's really pushing in qualifying, he's pushing a bit too hard, Nico, as the back end, and I regret to say, unless Tibor is able to really nurse the traction from the gravel, that this might be a suspension for our qualifying session, as Tibor Valin, you can see him get sliding here, and the back end of the car just letting go. Bear in mind, on cold tyres, and Timo Glock, who was with us on the air yesterday, was explaining how difficult it is to warm the tyres up relative to where they are on the car. For example, Nico, warming the back tyres up actually is easier than warming the front tyres up, because you have the traction, if you like. So Tibor had not got the tyres up to temperature, and as I predicted, really rather poetically, the session is suspended. It won't be many moments before they can recover the Tibor Valin car from the gravel, and he'll be back again. Talking of back again, it's a delight to see Motohiko Isasaki. He is back again, and he drives the number 105, the green car that you could just see coming into the pit lane. And if ever the passion and the enjoyment and the sheer thrill of being a Ferrari Challenge driver was evident, it was with Motohiko Isasaki yesterday, who was positively dancing down the pit lane in excitement for his peers that had won in other categories of the Ferrari Challenge, and it's just utterly lovely to see.
Yeah, absolutely. Motohiko, obviously, by being champion in Coppa Shell Am Europe last year, was elevated to Coppa Shell, and by virtue of the fact that with so many entries, more than 70 this year, we now split our field of drivers into 3 different races. Coppa Shell and 488 Challenge Evo here in this race, or this qualifying, then yes, it's Trofeo Pirelli and Trofeo Pirelli Am, and Coppa Shell Am have their own individual race, and therefore Motohiko was able to just watch his former peers from last year, and obviously lots of camaraderie and friendship throughout the entire paddock, but within your own category it's even stronger. And so, I mean, he was, as you said, literally dancing and smiling and giving thumbs up. And
it's wonderful to see.
And as if he had won the race himself.
Yes.
And no, that was really, really, really good to see.
And we spoke to him, which we didn't see in our broadcast, in the qualifying yesterday, but Motohiko saying that, you know, yes, he's been elevated now to the Shell category, and talking of elevation and promotion, if you will, congratulations to my football team who got promoted to the Premiership yesterday. Sorry, that's very self-indulgent, but I'm just going to say it. Yeah, Motohiko, he said on air, I want one more challenge, and I have the challenge, and if I can get a podium, you know, to be fair to him, English quite clearly is not his first language, but I thought he's one of these drivers that almost doesn't need to be able to speak the language, because exactly what he wants to articulate, you can see from his enthusiasm.
Oh, absolutely.
You can read it.
Absolutely. And I mean, make no mistake, my Japanese is non-existent, so his English,
similar to mine then.
English beats that by a country mile. No, and as you say, I mean, his enthusiasm just oozes from everything he says.
Yes.
And really, really lovely. And that we were able to enjoy that throughout last year. And this first race day of the new year was just a continuation. A continuation for this session will appear in pretty much exactly 1 minute from now, 9:10 local.
Yes, I didn't think it would be many moments before they got the Tibor Valin car recovered, and Motohiko Isasaki is right at the sharp end of the queue of cars to make their way back out onto track again when the session resumes, as my friend alongside me has indicated. Will be at exactly 9:10 local time, which is some 40 seconds from now. And there is the Manuela Gosner car and driver combo. And Manuela, unfortunately, didn't finish the race yesterday, but had a torrid pace, and is certainly going to be one to watch out for. Let's enjoy some of the images of the qualifying that we've seen thus far today. Here we go then, as Motohiko Isesaki will lead the queue of cars back out onto track, and it'll be all about warming those tyres up as that pit lane is open once again. Motohiko Isesaki is followed down the pit lane by the Greypool Nottingham driver, John Dillon, who podiumed yesterday. And there you can see the whole pack of cars making their way out onto this 4.5 point. Let's start again. Rewind. 5.245 kilometer circuit, which contains 14 turns. 6 of them are left, 8 of them are right-handers. Sector 1 has 3 of them. Sector 2 is a busy sector with 6 turns. Sector 3, 5. And there you can see the absolute focus and determination. There is Ben Svalin to the left-hand side of our picture there. Tibor is out there on track. Well, actually, probably isn't. This car's been brought into the pit lane now, and will be someone there with a vacuum extracting the gravel, because on cold tyres he just lost the back end of the car, but he'll be back out again for qualifying. I mean, when the session was suspended, he was by far and away the quickest, some 4.994 seconds quicker than anyone else. But we haven't seen the last of Tibor, I would suggest, in this qualifying session. Von Skeltermar, who is celebrating something of a milestone himself in terms of the Ferrari Challenge and years of competition, which stretch to 2 decades now. The one ever present is the shark's teeth across the front of the car, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. And we are celebrating the 32nd year of the Ferrari Challenge. It was 1992, and it was Mugello, where the opening race of the opening season with the 348 model happened, and now we are 2 years later, 20 of those seasons. Von Skeltermar has been part of it. That's even longer than you and me, which
stretches to 15, I'm given to understand.
It is indeed.
I can't believe that. I really can't believe that.
Well, so welcome to a little bit of
history. This when I was 15 years of age.
Yeah, kind of.
I wish.
This is a little bit of the history of the Ferrari Challenge in a few snapshots. This is the present of the Ferrari Challenge.
Good morning, Christian Kinch, driving the 488 Challenge car. Christian is TV Gold, and hello to Christian's family, who I know will be watching this qualifying session, including his daughter Sabina, who's a regular visitor to the tracks as well. And I know Christian very courteously has on his car, get well soon, Axel Sartingen, who of course is another ever present in the Ferrari Challenge, who we're very much missing this weekend because he picked up an injury in some leisure pursuit which wasn't motor racing, and therefore is prevented from being here, which I know from a message he sent me yesterday is particularly frustrating for him, because he's having to watch the action and listen to you and me, which of course is frustrating. But yeah, he would rather be out here on the track as we look at Ray Acosta now. Ray Acosta just last weekend was competing in the Ferrari Challenge in North America. So lots of drivers who choose to embrace the geographic opportunities that the Ferrari Challenge gives as well. And I know Motohiko Isesaki, who we were talking about just a while ago, and I need to ask Motohiko whether he'll be competing next weekend in the next round of the Japan Series, because he certainly competed in the first round. Here is Von Skeltermar then. He's currently 6th fastest. He's done a couple of personal best sectors as he's getting the car and himself and the tyres up to speed here. Tibor Valent currently is the quickest with Pierluigi Alessandri P2. Then it's Ken Abe, Murad Kuala-Ruglu, Andreas Rizzi. Then it's this man, Von Skeltermar. Now, with some 26 cars, Nico, and 20 minutes of the session remaining, finding clear tarmac is almost as critical as being able to put the fastest time in. In fact, the two are molded together. Tibor Valin. Now Henry Hassid goes 2nd fastest within 3/100ths of Tibor Valin. So Henry Hassid, who was very much something of a star of the show in his return to the Ferrari Challenge, and was on the podium yesterday, P2. And we watched James Wyland inside this wonderful Ferrari 296. James Wyland, again, another driver that you cannot discount. Coached by another very talented driver. That's Conrad Grunewald. And James out there doing the best he can, which at the moment is third fastest. It's very, very tight at the top, with only 6/10ths covering the top three, Nico.
Yeah, absolutely. You could just, on this onboard shot, very, very well see how we went through the chicane. And track limits is a topic here at Mugello every time we come here, because obviously the drivers are absolutely on the knife's edge, both in qualifying and during the race. So they try to maximize their lap time, which is actually minimized because they want the lowest possible lap time, obviously. And we usually, it's on the outside, the runoff area, where liberties are taken with track limits. Here it's turn 4 that is the most likely culprit if we see a track limit warning. And it's actually on the inside of track 4 because it's the entry, the left-hander into the chicane, where the drivers can just go a little bit too far on the inside. And if they have all 4 wheels outside the gray stuff, so on the curbs, that's where race control says you have taken advantage and that lap time will be disallowed.
Will be deleted. James is on a good trajectory here. It's blue for sector 1, it's purple for sector 2, so it's an improvement. So at the moment he sits P4 as Henry Hassid has gone quickest, with Motohiko Isozaki going second fastest. 2 purple sectors for James Weiland now. Only a purple best, but an overall best. So if he can keep it between the white lines, this could be a new provisional P1 time as he heads to break the timing beam now. The Rosso Corsa racer James Weiland, he does it, and does it by 8/10ths. That's quite a margin. A 1:53.176 for James Weiland. Well done. Henry Hassid, another driver into the 1:53s. He's gone second fastest. It's Motohiko Isozaki who's third fastest, with Pierluigi Alessandri going P4 at the moment. This is the Great Paul Nottingham driver, John Dillon. Where's John? He did go out in the early stages of this. Did he post a time? He did, but it's not meaningful. So more to come from John Dillon. This is the 152 car of Thomas Loflad. We saw him for the Go Mengstler team getting ready in the garage. He's out there now. We've got 17 minutes of the session remaining. We're live with Ferrari Challenge Copa and 488 qualifying 2 because it's Sunday here in Mugello. And there you can see the Henry Hassid car. Henry Hassid currently second fastest. As we look at more of the cars out there on track, including this awesome looking machine from Pierluigi Alessandri, being driven in an awesome style as well, because he's now gone fastest through the first 2 sectors. Hold on to your hats, this could be a new provisional P1 if he's able to hold it all together, heading towards the timing line. He climbs uphill, heads towards breaking the beam, and his target time, well, Pierluigi Alessandri just crossed the line and he went fastest. James Weiland now relegated to P2. This is Murad Kuhadaroglu, who's also on a quick trajectory. He takes a little bit more of a liberty on the exit of the final turn and heads towards the timing line now. And he goes P1 with a 1:51.464. So good showing from Murad Kuhadaroglu. Now, in terms of the 488 cars, it's Fabrizio Fontana, P1. It's Ivan David Mari, I should say, who's P2. Tommy Lindroth is P3. And talking of Tommy Lindroth, here he is with 2 personal bests as Tommy Lindroth then rounds the final turn. He was on the podium yesterday, and he took a very, very well-deserved podium place, and then entertained us with his here, Christian Kinch. So he is second fastest is Tommy Lindroth. And if you interested in the comparison between the new Ferrari car, the Ferrari Challenge 296, if you're interested in the comparison between the 296 and the 488 in terms of out-and-out performance on track, as Ray Acosta goes second fastest. Well done, Ray. Fastest time in the 296 Shell drivers class is a 1:51.464. Fastest time for the 488 cars Actually, Fabrizio Fontana really pushing it with a 1:53.871, so a couple of seconds between the two cars. So Pierluigi Alessandri, Murat Kuhadaroglu, Ray Acosta, James Wyland, the top four. And the best of the 488 drivers is Fabrizio Fontana with a 1:53.871 versus a 1:57.505. That's a big margin between himself and P1 for the 488 cars. And Tommy Lindroth, who is P2 in the 488 cars. Here comes Ray Acosta. He certainly improved through Sector 1. Sector 2 was not an improvement, so you don't necessarily need to turn every sector purple, but Sector 3 didn't work for him either. So Ray Acosta will go again and try and vault himself back up into the higher echelons of our qualifying times. He did sit P2 and P3 for a while. He's dropped down to P4 now. Make that P5 as Andrea Rizzi goes third fastest now with a very, very good time of 1:51.357. Only one driver in the 150s, that's Pierluigi Alessandri, Nico, with a 1:50.989, and he's improving once again.
Yes, indeed, and with 13 and a half minutes remaining, that means that this qualifying session is heating up for real. Generally on the Sunday in qualifying, we see the drivers come out on yesterday's rubber and putting in a few laps, then changing to the new set of tires. We haven't really seen that progression today, really. Maybe it was something that, because of the red flag, just happened automatically, and the drivers, after going out with the first set of tires from yesterday, have used that opportunity and just changed at that moment. That's maybe something that we can find out after this qualifying session when we talk to the drivers, but certainly that lull in the qualifying session where there is very few cars out on track hasn't appeared, and that, I think, is an indication that we will go full steam towards the end of the session.
I think you're right.
Because we expect that the track to only get quicker towards the end, with temperatures going up and going very, very quick, and almost across the line, or just a bit above the line, was Pierluigi Alessandri, but Ken Abe has just edged him for provisional P1 in the session, so 1:50.9, and just as I said that the tire changes, I mean, come on guys, I am being proven wrong because I was wrong, and there was the team of the 219 car, if I spotted that correctly. That would have been Ivan David Murray, who didn't post a time yesterday qualifying, but is certainly going out and has set a time. Just as a reference from yesterday, it was 1:49.1 as pole time in Copper Shell, so we're still a little bit away from that.
My memory fails regularly, but Copper Shell were not first out of qualifying yesterday, were they? They were.
Yeah, we have the same sequence of sessions today that we have yesterday. Sorry, Dave.
Yeah, that's wrong again. That's my middle name, wrong again. Ken Abe, 1:59.64. Merely 2 100ths quicker than Pierluigi Alessandri, but 2 100ths is 2 100ths, and Ken Abe is trying to go again. We've got 11 minutes remaining in this session, and Nico, that 1:59.64, well, Ken Abe may have something to say about that. Not sure this final sector has worked quite as he wanted. Sector 1 and Sector 2 certainly were purples. Just think that he potentially ran a bit wide going into one of the penultimate turns here, so not sure that we are going to see an improvement from Ken Abe. He was certainly hoping for that. I really rather think he is setting himself up for the next lap to go even quicker still. Let's see as he crosses the timing line. Certainly he's a 10th and a half down on his previous best time, which is the best of anyone, but I think he's going again. Here comes Andrea Rizzi, who, as Nico mentioned, Andreas in pushing as hard as he possibly could, just kicking up a bit of gravel, so he's going to go again. This time, though, his Sector 1 and Sector 2 times are both purple, so this could be an improvement from P4 for Andreas Rizzi, who loses time in the final sector, losing some 6/10 as Murat Kuhadaroglu now goes quickest with a 1:50.551. So there is Sean Doyle, who is talking to John Dillon. Sean Doyle acts as a driver coach to John Dillon. He's telling John where he can find the time and to get out there because John hasn't really posted a meaningful time yet for a Great Paul Nottingham. Oh, and now if we can get this car out, and well, credit to Alexei Komarov for managing to get the car out. However, he has rather less kindly distributed a considerable wheelbarrow full of gravel across the track, but nonetheless, I mean, that could have been a session suspension, Nico, with that car in the gravel.
Yeah, talking about cars in the gravel, we keep watching out for the Rosso Corsa team and the Thibaut Valent car, which obviously was beached very early in the session, and at that point Thibaut Valent was leading our timing chart, but that was early goings, and obviously the times have accelerated, and that had already dropped him down to P16 overall. Remember, he is yesterday's winner, and it bears watching whether he can go out again with the remaining 8 minutes and 40 seconds, because from a P16 start, or even lower potentially, that would be a tough task or a big ask to repeat said success. So that's something that we will definitely watch. Willem van der Boom, meanwhile, has put it onto P2, just behind this man, Murat Kuhadaroglu, who has further increased his lead. Is only 6/100, so it's a marginal increase. We're still a little bit away from our pole time yesterday, so let's see if we can match or beat that. One driver who we haven't really seen at the top of our timing chart or near the front is Manuela Gostner, and we certainly expect her to do better than the current P24. She is just on an outlap, so not currently improving, but with the remaining 7.5 minutes and a little bit more, we expect a lot more from her. And Alexander Nussbaumer is another driver whom we expect to do better than P15, Dave.
Yes, actually, if we were to write our predictions, there are a number of changes that we would expect to see before the session comes to an end in 7.5 minutes' time. Alexander Nussbaumer has banked to P3 already and is only 8/100ths down on the Murat Kuhadaroglu time. It's Kuhadaroglu from Van der Form, from Nussbaumer, and lots of track limits with lap time deletions. So that's something for all the drivers to keep borne in mind. I have to say, if, Nico, we don't see Thibaut Valent out again, then it's going to make for a particularly exciting shell race as he will try and cut a swathe through the pack of cars that will be ahead of him. On board with James Weiland now, who was right at the top of the chart earlier on. He's now in P12 with a 152.86. 886, I should say. He's got to find some improvements, and a lot of purple splits coming.
Yeah, definitely. We currently have 5 drivers who are quicker than the current pole time, and one of them is John Dillon, who we were talking about, more than a second quicker on the intermediate time. So let's see if he can do it. It was a personal best in Sector 1, a purple in Sector 2, and he is coming towards the timing line very soon. It's the 151 car is John Dillon, and obviously we have to pick one because there are so many quick ones. Alexander Nussbaumer is another one, so expect the times to be quicker and the 150 mark to be broken any minute, any moment, and John Dillon is the first one to do it at 149.7, so that is a new best time, a new provisional pole, but even that is under threat immediately. Alexander Nussbaumer is the one who's the first one in line to potentially do something about it. Henry Seat, another one with a very good first sector, and indeed Alexander Nussbaumer,
he's delivered a 149.194, and I mean that's a big margin. John Dillon had gone quickest, and now it's Alexander Nussbaumer with that 149.194, a full 5/10 quicker than the previous best time from John Dillon. You can see Alexander Nussbaumer now, and there he is, and I really rather think he's hoping to improve still further, Nico. He's not done with this qualifying yet. We've got 5 minutes remaining, so Nussbaumer from Dillon, from Kuhadaroglu, from Van der Form, from Hasid, and then it's Herney, Abe, Acosta, Alessandri, Weiland, Rizzi, Skeltamar, Loflad. For me, the standout missing driver is Manuela, who we need to see a quick time. She's currently P16, and we know the pace is in the car. We know the ability is with the driver. Is Manuela going to leave it to the very, very last moment to try and post the best lap time possible? Henry Hassid goes quickest. Sorry, Nico. Every single lap of this qualifying session, a new driver is setting purple sectors, and so too is Alexander Nussbaumer right now, who we are with. Henry Hassid has gone quicker by 1/10 and a half. Alexander Nussbaumer is looking for it, Nico.
Yeah, 3/100ths quicker through the first 2 sectors, and that means this final turn is so crucial. No mistake, no little slip he can allow if he wants to beat that time. It's less than 4 minutes remaining, so it's not last chance saloon quite yet, but every lap takes a little bit out of the tire, so it's always difficult to repeat. I mean, it's margins, 6/100ths. Manu Gostner, you talked about her. She's at least banked a P13 for the time being, still not nearly where she wants to be and expects to be, but doesn't quite have it together quite yet. But again, 3.5 minutes. She has 2 more laps after the current one that she is likely. Henry Hassid going for it. Very, very good first sector once again. And we have a quicker time now than we were yesterday. Henry Hassid is trying to get beneath the 1:49 mark.
And he's on target, isn't he?
Yeah, he is on target. It's only 5/100ths quicker than previously, but he was only like, oh, and that traffic is probably just going to be too much to overcome, because it was really, as we saw, the margins are minimal. The time he said previously is already so good that you can't really hope to make leaps and bounds inwards.
Unless you've got a completely perfect lap.
Yeah, exactly, and I think you can see that he has reset, but he's still going quickly. So let's see, the 1:49.037 is the benchmark, and yeah, he did lose time on that final sector, but he's going with momentum, so he's probably going to try 1 or 2 more laps.
Fabrizio Fontana, he's happy again. And Henry Hassid and Alexander Nussbaumer are judged on the top 3 for the Shell drivers. Now, for the 488 drivers, it's Fabrizio Fontana. And we saw Andreas Berg Sorensen just a moment ago in his garage. He's delivered a P2. And then it is Christian Kinch, P3. So kind of no surprises there. Right, final 2 minutes. And Henry Hassid is going for it again.
Yeah, and just to finish your thought on Fabrizio Fontana and Andreas Borg Sorensen, also between those 2 drivers in the 488 Challenge E, there's only 6/100ths between P1 and P2, just to underscore that the competitive level is just so good. Manu Gostner, first sector, 1/10 and a half quicker, and this spells disaster for Manu's hopes to get through, because I think that is ahead of her. Well, if Ray Acosta can get the car out of there early enough, and I think he may have done as to not impede Manu Gostner, certainly impacted on Henry Hassid, who had to bail that second lap sector. So let's see if Manu Gostner can keep her trajectory up. She's currently P9. And with 1 minute and 10 seconds, and second sector was good. She is still on trajectory to be on the front row, potentially on provisional pole position. And thanks, guys, for picking up Manu Gostner.
Yes, Manuela Gostner then, who we've been concerned has not been where we expected to be, and is leaving it to the very last moments of this qualifying session to lay out and set her stall. And she had the disappointment of not finishing the race yesterday. Then Henry Hassid makes way, and Manuela Gostner is unhindered, heading towards the timing line now with purple sector 1, purple sector 2, and it's a personal best through sector 3. Now, it's not enough for P1, but it is enough for P3, which is much more where we would expect to see Manuela.
Yeah, I'm not sure if she was entirely unhindered. I think that just the fact that the Henry Hassid car was there kind of made her think once or twice, and maybe she did have to take a little bit her foot off the throttle, but she is going again. This now is the final lap. 17 seconds remaining. She can finish that lap. It will still count, but she has to set up again. But as you say, disaster averted, certainly where we'd expect her to be, even though James Wallen edged her from P3, relegated her time to be the 4th best for the moment. The first sector wasn't quite as good as the previous time around, and now she dives from that first sequence of chicanes all the way down and then back up the hill. Arrabbiata 1, Arrabbiata 2, which I have to say I walked up there, but not quite at the pace that Manu Gostner does.
Henry Hassid, P1, Alexander Nussbaumer, P2, James Wyland, P3. Then it is this driver and car combo, Manuela Gosner then. And Manuela Gosner just looks, if I'm honest with you, this lap looks a bit ragged in comparison to the last. I know she had the Henry Hassid car coming into the pit lane. This would still be a second row start for Manuela Gosner if she doesn't improve. And I'm sorry to say the sector blocks are indicating that this is not going to be an improvement. She won't be able to go again because the clock has counted down to 0. And I really rather feel that the order we have on the graphics on the left-hand side of your screen is the order that we're going to stay with. As Manuela heads towards the timing beam now, and well, she was 5.5 tenths down, so it stays P4 for Manuela Gosner. There is her driver coach and team boss, Giorgio Sanaggiotto, and you could just see in the background there Arno Dahlmeier, another former Ferrari Challenge driver, walking away from the pit perch. I was speaking to Arno at dinner last night, and very much hoping to see Arno Dahlmeier back in a Ferrari Challenge car again very, very soon. Looking at the Andreas Berg Sorensen car, you will recall that Andreas Berg Sorensen had a torrid time of it yesterday. Is in a different car today, so the livery that my colleague found so attractive is not being adopted today. It's really rather a all-black affair for Andreas Berg Sorensen, but he's done a very good job in qualifying at P2 in the 488 category. So for the Cope-Shell, it's going to be Henry Hassid from Alexander Nussbaumer and James Wyland. For the 488s, it's going to be Fabrizio Fontana, Andreas Berg Sorensen, and Christian Kinch.
And we have Tibor Valent.
Tibor Valent is going to have work to do from his lowly starting position. Yeah, very, very exciting qualifying, which writes a really nice script for the race to come. Going P1, Henry Hassid then for Kessel Racing. Did a very, very good job of the 149.037. It was so tight across the top 5 with barely 6 tenths between the top 5 drivers of Hassid, Nussbaumer, Wyland, Gosner and John Dillon. Well done to all of our drivers then. Of course, the honour of pole position will go the way of Henry Hassid, but that's not all, because you do gain a point for pole position as well. And Fabrizio Fontana, well, yesterday, race winner, today, pole position. So the Formula Racing driver Fabrizio Fontana going very, very well indeed. Great job done by all the drivers. The one that will provide much excitement, I feel sure, is Tibor Valent. Tibor then, who had an off, and that means that Tibor has got a lot of work to do from a P16 starting position. And there you can see the emotions of Fabrizio Fontana then. And let's get the classification then. Henry Hassid from Alexander Nussbaumer and James Wyland. Then it was Manuela Gosner, John Dillon, Motohiko Isasaki, Murad Kuhada-Ruglu, and Andreas Rizzi. They are the top 8 drivers, and they were followed by Willem van der Vorm, Christoph Herney, Ken Abe, Ray Acosta, Pierluigi Alessandri, Thomas Loflad, and von Skeltermar arguably out of position also for our Cope-Shell drivers. For our 488 drivers, Fabrizio Fontana, who we saw just a moment ago. Then it's Andreas Berg Sorensen, Christian Kinch, Pino Frascaro, Tommy Lindroth, Ivan David Mari, and then it is Vincenzo Gabino, Alexei Komarov, and Germano Salernitano. So from Nico and from myself, thank you so much for watching qualifying. Make sure you join us for the race to come a little bit later today. Bye-bye for now.
verticale. Guarda che, devi stare, Madonna mia. T'ammazzo, t'ammazzo, Forza,
Welcome to Mugello and Ferrari Challenge Trofeo Pirelli qualifying for race 2 of our 2024 season here in Europe. So the mix of Pirelli and Pirelli Am drivers will be taken to the track shortly for them to try and set the best possible lap time in their qualifying session to give them the best possible grid position for their race 2 to come later on today, this afternoon. It was a epic Trofeo Pirelli race yesterday. We're expecting much of the same today. All the drivers driving the new Ferrari 296 car. So the Mugello circuit then, a firm favourite with all of our Ferrari Challenge drivers, 5.245 kilometres, 14 turns, 6 left, 8 right. Sector 1 contains 3 of the turns, Sector 2, 6, and Sector 3, 5. It's Mugello for the opening round, then we go to Balaton in Hungary, ahead of Jerez and Portimao and La Casale and Nürburgring and Imola. What a phenomenal calendar that the team from Corsa Clienti of Ferrari have put together for 2024. A mix of established circuits and even a brand new one as well. Alongside me for this 30-minute qualifying session, as always, Nico Spalek. And when the head honchos sit down and design a calendar, you know, it's they never seem to disappoint. We always go to some fantastic circuits. I'm particularly looking forward to going to Balaton, then our summer tour, if you like, of Spain and Portugal and the south of France. Before the snow and everything else that Nürburgring can give us in that particular Eifel region of Germany.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm not sure if head honcho is the phrase I would have used in that regard, but yeah.
Absolutely. Top man, top men, top ladies.
Absolutely. No question about that as we have a look at RF4, who's getting ready for the quali session about 2.5 minutes away from going green. Yeah, I mean, you know, Tuscany in early May. Then you've got the Balaton with the huge lake. Then you've got the south of France, the south of Spain, the south of Portugal, and obviously the Eifel region. I mean, it's one holiday destination after another. And Imola, I was just there 2 weeks ago. Also seeing the WEC, where obviously Ferrari is very, very successful with the hypercar. Le Mans winners in 2023 in the top class of endurance racing again after so many years, and immediately taking that coveted trophy back to Maranello. I mean, what a success that was. And I mean, that Imola circuit obviously steeped in history and also a great place to finish our season. But we're not at the finish yet, not even close. We're just at the beginning. And Matthias Thoman, one of those drivers competing in the Pirelli Am class. You can identify the Pirelli and the Pirelli Am drivers. Pirelli Am has a white sun strip at the top of the windscreen, and it's also going to be white in graphics, and the Pirelli drivers have the red equivalent. And James Owen, another of our Pirelli Am drivers, Dave.
Yeah, James, he had a good time of it yesterday in both qualifying and the race, in my opinion. Perhaps didn't finish quite as high up in the race as I would have expected. James being coached by Bobby Thompson this weekend. Bobby, a fine racing driver as well. So too is James. And I wax lyrical about the fact that he's very proud of his Welsh heritage. You would never know it when you spoke to him, to be honest with you, but that is the case. Champing at the bit to get out there is the number 91 car of Philippe Barron, returning to the Ferrari Challenge. Being promoted into the Trofeo Pirelli is Franz Engstler by dint of his success in Pirelli Am and Covershell before it. Franz Engstler, and well, he started his promotion year into Trofeo Pirelli by taking a win yesterday. So well done to Franz Engstler. And this is Marco Zanazzi. One of the moments for me, Nico, in the race was between Marco Zanazzi and Klaus Branson. And Klaus Branson managing to get the better of Marco Zanazzi by going all the way around the outside at turn number 1, where you need to have very, very big courage. And he did that and did it really, really well. And it was one of the standout moments for me in that particular race yesterday. So very much looking forward to this race to come a little bit later. Before that, Otto Blank, along with the other 24 drivers have got to go out there and qualify. And that's what they're doing right now as we get a green flag, green light, and we get ready to rock and roll and soul.
Oh, yeah. There is going to be a point to be made, not only during qualifying, but there is also a point to be gained after or at the end of qualifying, because those drivers who will finish P1 in class will get 1 championship point as a reward, alongside the privilege to start on P1 for the race.
We're on board with Franz Hengstler now. You can see the monitor screen right in the middle of the dashboard. And the reason for that is the huge bulkhead that is in the Ferrari 296 cars means it's impossible to have a sort of a traditional rear view mirror. It was an innovation that was started with the 488 Challenge car, actually, this having a rear view screen, if you like. And every driver has said that actually the rear screen is so much better than a rear view mirror because you get a much better indication of what is behind you. It's a wider image and a better image, and every driver, every driver is absolutely loving this 296 car. Of that there is no doubt as we look at David Agabadze. But that's just one of the features. I mean, these cars are extraordinary. I think it's fair to say never before, Nico, have I seen racing drivers take to a new car with such enthusiasm and such utter delight when they get out of the car, because the car is an absolute joy to drive. And every driver really loving it. Here is Andrew Morrow. He won the British Trofeo Pirelli Championship last year in the Ferrari UK region, and he has decided to come and race in Europe for 2024. A very welcome addition into the European contingent. To be fair, he was at the Finale Mondiale event towards the end of last year at this very circuit. We are on board with Andrew Morrow now, climbing uphill now on the second sort of uphill climb on the start-finish straight, heading into turn number 1 in 6th gear, pulling an extraordinary speed before heavy braking, and turning into turn number 1, and already it's looking very busy out there.
Yeah, I was about to say, it's really, you can get an impression of the traffic that's out on the track. 24 drivers entered into this Trofeo Pirelli M qualifying number 2, and of those 24, 17 are currently out on track, and that makes for a busy circuit, especially in this phase of qualifying where drivers are at different phases of their progression.
I just want to big up Andrew even more than I have, because Andrew first entered motorsports, but a couple of years ago came into the Ferrari Challenge in the UK in his, if you like, his installation season, Nico, having never driven a racing car or having any racing experience. Did a very good job in his first season, and then in his second season he won the championship, and now as a young talented driver, here he is running in the European series of the Ferrari Challenge as a Trofeo Pirelli AM driver. Many congratulations to Andrew, having done a very good job. You can see the number 26 car there of James Owen, and that is the number 89 car of Klaus Sebranson, who was awesome in the race yesterday. Just tracking the Andrew Morrow car, you can just see at the back of the shot, you can see it even more now, is one of the most distinctive Ferrari Challenge cars there are on the grid, to be fair. And I know the logo and the images that are on that car probably mean more to you than they do to me, Nico.
Yeah, Herbert, guys, driving for Maranello Motors, which is based in Cologne, and so very much local to me and local to us. And yeah, that logo certainly means a lot to me. If you know Cologne Carnival, maybe you've seen that logo as well. So there is someone who's not from Cologne and not necessarily, not to my knowledge, very much involved in Carnival, but Philip Barron is one of our returning drivers, and he's been associated with the challenge for so many years, even though he's not been on the entry list as a driver for a number of years. No, he is a team boss, team principal of Barron Motorsport, and with the advent of the 296 challenge, he has decided to give it another go behind the wheel. and he is in firm control not only of the team but of his car, the number 91 car, which he also used when he was racing previously. So very familiar car number, and very familiar to have Philip Barron at the sharp end of the timing screen. And oh, what a surprise! P1.
Yes, look at that, P1. My first ever visit to Cologne in Germany, or one of my first visits to Cologne in Germany. I'm proud to say I've been to that city a lot of times, and it is a firm favourite of mine, was during this carnival period that you talk of. Never before have I experienced such colour and extraordinary costume, or lack thereof, of people in the middle of winter wearing next to nothing and all wanting to have a very, very enjoyable time, much of which is derived from having bucket-sized glasses with them filled with various drinks. That's my experience, Nico.
Well, there is a lot of truth in that, and if you haven't experienced Cologne Carnival, well, get information before you just happen to bump there and decide for yourself if it's good for you or not. I will leave that entirely up to your and your life choices. Marco Zanazzi has made a lot of good life choices because he is in the Ferrari Challenge and enjoying his time in the 296 Challenge, and he's entering the final turn here on the circuit, rounding this turn number 14 and heading towards the timing line. He has not set a time, a meaningful one, in this qualifying session, and well, this time is not as quick as he was yesterday, but it is the first banker that he puts, and he is P1 in class, a 1:53.144. It's quite a little bit away from our pole times yesterday, but as usual, in qualifying number 2 on Sunday morning, we expect the drivers to be out on yesterday's Pirelli tires before they change to a very new set on which they aim to put the fastest lap into the book. And Philip Barron isn't done yet. He is improving once again. It's just the 10th, but it's just the 10th from an already dominating margin he has at the top of our timing screen.
And bear in mind, we assume that Philippe is running, as you correctly said, on a set of tyres from yesterday's race. You can see some of the new Pirelli P0s going on to the number 26 car here. So Nico's indication is absolutely right. Drivers out on a set of tyres from yesterday before they put a new set of rubber on, and that was certainly the case of James Owen that we could see there. Marco Zanazzi is the quickest of the drivers with a 1:53.144. For our Pirelli drivers, it's Philip Barron ahead of Franz Engstler. Now, you can see from the graphics bar on the left-hand side of your screen that the position each particular driver is in is coloured. If it's red, it means it's a Pirelli driver. If it's white, it's a Pirelli AM driver. Those colours are also duplicated on the Adler strip at the top of the windscreen of each car. So it's really easy to identify for you and also for me in terms of which particular category any given driver is driving in.
Perfect.
Hope I did that with an articulation. Henceforth, never delivered.
You've done that very well before. So good orientation for everybody, very easy to spot, especially in the race if drivers are in a interclass or a intra-class battle effectively.
Yes.
Marco Zanazzi battled the Mugello circuit very well and improved and put it, remains in P1, but now with a 1:51.897, edging ever closer to the times that we saw yesterday.
I can see from our information screen that a number of times are being deleted already. Part of that will be that the tyres, that the drivers are on tyres that is affording them less grip than those new tyres that are going onto the Philippe Barron car right now, and therefore. In the race, basically, if the track limits are exceeded, you get a series of warnings. And if in qualifying you explore the track limits really rather too far, then you get your lap time deleted. Going round and around is Armin Arifpour for the Riller and Schnauk team. And here you can see the Autohaus Ulrich driver Timo Glock, who qualified P1 yesterday and then suffered a penalty, which meant he had to start from P3. In true Timo Glock style, at the opening part of the race, he came like a speeding speed thing down the start-finish straight, finding tarmac where nobody else could find tarmac, to assume the lead of the race. However, the race direction really rather felt that the track limits were not exceeded, but brand new parts of the track were found by Timo Glock, and he therefore suffered a time penalty and ended up P3. But, I mean, talk about deliver entertainment for us. And Timo, who I've known for a number of years, and in all his racing, whether it was in single-seaters, of course, the highest echelons of motorsport in Formula One, he was always one of those drivers that would entertain, and Timo certainly entertained us yesterday, not only out on the track, but also in broadcast when he joined me on the air as well. Great fun. Here is Herbert Guys then, and Nico with a Carnival logo, and I mean, if ever a logo was really, really indicated what Carnival is all about, that is one of them.
For sure, for sure. There, as we follow, and this is very interesting. You can see this is the shortcut.
Yes.
This is the shortcut which you can take from Sector 2 back into pit lane, and drivers are allowed to take that both during free practice and qualifying.
Forgive me with my sharp intake of breath there, as Klaus Zibranson got just a tad sideways, but held it all together. So Klaus Zibranson for Formula Racing, who Sector 1 and Sector 2 are both purple sectors. Now he is, he was currently, not currently, he was previously top of the chart for our Pirelli Am drives. He's been relegated to P2 by Marco Zanazzi, with whom he had such a brilliant battle in the race yesterday, but Klaus Zibranson hoping to go back to the top spot when he comes back out for the remainder of this qualifying session. For the moment, he has come into the pit lane. I rather suspect that Klaus Zibranson hasn't yet had the cellophane-wrapped new rubber put onto his car.
That looks like it, yeah. 17.5 minutes remaining as we switch our attention to the number 9 car, and that is Danilo Del Favero.
Third fastest, Nico, in the AMS.
Absolutely, just overtaken by Philip Barron, who is on his outlap, so presumably he has already taken on board fresh Pirelli P0.
We saw them going on just as we were talking about it. I mean, it's as if somebody somewhere was producing us and planning what we were going to say, but you're absolutely right. He has got new tyres on. I saw them there with a wheel gun, and on they went.
Very nice sound.
Nice sound effect.
Nice sound effect, absolutely.
Sorry, everybody.
Drivers who we have not seen a time from, and let's have a look at that. Going from the bottom of our timing screen, Ben Svelland on the podium yesterday, not having set a time. Angelo Fontana, Jean-Luc Daria, also very, very good showing from him yesterday. Luca Ludwig, very unfortunate showing from him yesterday, had a very good starting position, then just a coming together, and
he was sandwiched, wasn't he, going into turn number 1, and yeah, that meant an early retirement for Luca Ludwig. Unfortunately, he'll be picking himself up though and want to right the wrongs of yesterday today.
Yeah. Oh, and there is that car went around. I didn't quite catch which it was.
Well, good avoidance by Danilo Del Favero. It is the number 5 car that went around of Laura Villas, who also had a torrid time of it in the race yesterday. And unfortunately ending up in the gravel, I seem to recall, but again, she's such a talented young driver. She'll pick herself up and come good today.
Yeah, and I mean, you said torrid time of it. Obviously the ending certainly was unfortunate. She had a really good race and a very, very strong showing until that point, and she was part of like a train of 6 cars, and at some point you know, it just, and there is Fabienne Volvend, and the gentleman to the right who's just disappeared out of shot is Tommy Lindroth, who we just saw in our Coppa Shell and 488 Challenge qualifying just a bit ago, and we saw...
As we also saw Pino Frascaro, who we can see there with Nicolo Schiro to the right-hand side. Nicolo is wearing the headphones there. He is a driver coach, Nico, and Nicolo himself, a very successful racing driver.
And a former Ferrari Challenge.
Absolutely.
Driver and champion, if I remember correctly.
Yes.
And yeah, you can see quite a lot of drivers currently in pit lane or just on their outlap.
There is a bit of a lull now, isn't there?
It is exactly that.
Calm before the storm.
Poetic. Poetic. Philip Barron, the first one of the front runners who has come out. We haven't seen Luca Ludwig thus far, but he is now on an outlap. Jean-Luc Darrier, he's the only one we haven't seen out on track at all. And the one driver that we failed to mention earlier when we were going through the drivers who haven't set a time was Max Mugello, another of our Pirelli drivers, who I remember is quite local from Mugello in the area. So track knowledge certainly is given for him. Otto Blank, number 71, currently P9 in class, and he is going through Sector 2 and just entering the final sector, that long winding right-hander before it comes to that quick succession of chicanes, which you have to go over the curbs to have as much speed going into the final turn here on the track. The Buccini turn number 14, and we saw yesterday how the new 296 challenge really affords the drivers the ability to take a little bit of a different line and be on the throttle a little earlier.
Yes.
And that made a lot of difference in one or two scenes, and Otto Blank was on the throttle very early, and we will see a marked improvement.
Absolutely.
P4.
That is one of the things. I mean, the development of this car is stunning, and as you say, it's allowing drivers to do things that previously would have been more difficult, and they're finding that the car is just so forgiving that they are able to really race. And in fairness, I was speaking just yesterday to the Ferrari global head of endurance and Corsa Clienti, Mr. Antonello Coletta, and I posed to him, you know, was it part of the design process to get this car so that it is very nearly, you know, it's as close to a GT3 car as a challenge car has ever been? And he said very much so. As Philippe Barron delivers a time that was quicker than his last time. The best, though, overall, Nico, and the only driver into the sub 150 time is James Owen, who has delivered a 1:48.799. Now, James was really good in qualifying yesterday, and he's doing exactly the same today. This is going to be a really interesting qualifying session as we get into the final 12 minutes of it, because we have an AM driver right at the top of the chart at the moment. Here comes the Pirelli driver, which is Benz Valint, of course, the Valint family, because Thibaut Valint is driving in the Ferrari Challenge. He was victorious yesterday in the Copa Shell class. Unfortunately, his qualifying was not ideal because he found himself in the back end of the car in the gravel, so he's going to have to do a lot of overtaking in the race. And Benz Valint now goes fastest with a 1:49.791, so he's fastest within the Trofeo Pirelli, but he's still not overall fastest, Nico.
No, he still got a little bit, almost a second towards James Owen, so I think that means that for Benz Valint that was the first quick lap coming out of the tire change, and not the lap that he had penciled in as the one that he wants the fastest. He had some traffic coming into turn 1, so probably the one that he just entered isn't going to necessarily be an improvement, but with 11 minutes there is still time, and you know, you'd never want to have traffic and your lap ruined, but you'd rather have it in turn 1 and not take everything out of the tires.
Yes.
Rather than having spent the entire lap pushing, and then it goes away. And yeah, Philip Barron, a 1:47.296, drops Mike on stage. No, not exit left, turn right rather, and do it another time. Timo Glock, he also attacks. Good sectors, showing purple. That's going to be interesting. 1:47.252. Response.
We've got a race on in qualifying.
Yeah.
So Timo Glock, by dint of 4.5 100ths, has gone quicker than Philippe Barron, and those two times came in very quick succession, didn't they? One after the other. So it's Glock from Barron, then it is Benz Valint in terms of Trofeo Pirelli drivers. For the AM drivers, it is James Owen ahead of Danilo Del Favreau and Hanno Laskowski, the Berlin resident from Emil Frey Racing, who is third fastest. Timo just sliding that car through the chicanes. Timo is wear your heart on your sleeve driving style, which has been renowned for his entire racing career. Driving car number 17, the number chosen by his children for his debut in the Ferrari Challenge this weekend. He's bailed the lap now.
Yeah, and it's as we said, you know, traffic sometimes means that you can't really deliver the best time, and then it's better to set yourself up, find empty space on the track for your next go around. Philip Barron did exactly the same, currently not on a quick lap, and we see a lot of personal bests. Nobody currently really troubling the front row, with, well, the exception of Luca Ludwig, who is on a very quick one. So let's see what he can do. But Timo Glock currently resides in P1. Ben Svelland now, first sector, purple, another one that we will watch.
This is it. Look at this, Nico. I mean, come on, Timo. We love it. We love it.
Yeah. I think he knows something about driving a car, and when you talk to him, you know, he confessed and professed the fact that, you know, just having the prancing horse in the middle of the steering wheel means something. Ben Svelland, that time that he is on also means something. It beats purple in sector 1, personal best in sector 2, so that P3, certainly the time he currently resides with on our timing screen, is not set to stay. Didn't quite get the line that he wanted to that turn, but still a chance for an improvement. 8.5 minutes remaining.
Ben Svelland has been relegated to P4 up until he's crossing the timing line now, because Luca Ludwig has gone third fastest. Here comes Ben Svelland then, and he now goes third fastest, so drops Luca Ludwig down into P4. So it's going to be a lot of changing, I think, over the next 8 minutes. But the margin of change is going to be minuscule, as Jean-Luc Daria now goes fourth fastest for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers with a 1:48.224. We have 3 drivers in the 47s. They are Timo Glock, Philip Barron and Ben Svelland. This is going to be very, very exciting. Here comes Philip Barron. As far as Philip Barron is concerned, nothing but the best will ever do for him, and he charges himself with the same ambition, no question about that. We often talk about him as being a team boss who is very determined and will wrap any driver's knuckles if he feels they've not delivered, and he sets himself by the same very high standards. And this could be a very high standard, Nico, because sector 1 was purple, sector 2 is purple. This is Philip Barron then heading to the timing line right now. Is this going to be a new provisional P1? It is, and he takes 5/100ths out of the Timo Glock time. This qualifying session has lit up like a beacon towards the end of it, as we go on board now with the Mertel Motorsport driver Luca Ludwig. And Luca Ludwig P3 right now. It's Barron from Glock, from Ludwig, from Valent, from Daria. Wow. And it's amazing when you look at the young talent of Ben Svelland and Jean-Luc Daria, arguably also Luca Ludwig, and then older campaigners like Timo Glock and sort of mid-range Philip Barron, who of course has been a Ferrari Challenge multi-champion and is a team boss now. What a fight we're having with these drivers, and the one standout for me, Nico, is Franz Engstler, who, whilst he has set a time, it's not a time where we would expect to see Franz Engstler.
No, definitely not. He, our race winner yesterday, and actually he set a much better time, but track limits meant that didn't count. It's not really there, but
just as we talk about it, Franz Engstler goes 6th fastest within class, 10th fastest overall, with a more meaningful time of a 1:49.005.
Yeah, definitely. Still probably not quite where he wanted to be at the end of the session, but, you know, any improvement is good. Timo Glock, not quite so happy as he was at this session yesterday when he topped the timing chart, as you already mentioned. So
just discussing there with the engineering team about how the car's behaving out there, and
maybe also a little bit about traffic, and where maybe he felt that another driver didn't give him the space that he wanted. But you know, it is all a very competitive field, and really, really small margins can be the difference between P1 and P3 or P4. And it looks like Philip Barron does not have to fear any more attacks from Timo Glock, that's for sure. So Timo currently resides in P2 on our timing screen, but Jean-Luc Daria, he is still going, not on this lap necessarily. The first 2 sectors not quite indicative of a chance to leapfrog the drivers in front of him. Timo Glock in the pit lane, Luca Ludwig in the pit lane, and Ben Valent in the pit lane. So it looks like they have settled on the times they have put on our timing screen. So it's really down to Jean-Luc Darrier to do something about his current position.
You're right. And he's not going to do it on this lap, I confidently predict. However, the next lap could be an altogether different story. So we see Jean-Luc Darrier now sliding the car into the entry of turn number 1. Very talented young driver who started his motor racing career on 2 wheels rather than 4 in motocross, and therefore is certainly not fearful. And this is Andrew Morrow, who is one of our Trofeo Pirelli AM drivers, who's currently sitting P6 in class. And, great job being done by the Scuderia Prague driver in Trofeo Pirelli AM, Hendrik Viol, who is P1 within class and actually P5 overall. Very, very quick. Andrew Morrow trying to find some more time from his challenge car right now. You can almost feel the curves through the images that we're able to bring you there as Andrew does everything he can on this undulating Mugello circuit to improve his position. Currently, he is 6th fastest within class. That is 12th fastest in the overall classification, so he'll be hoping to improve. I'm not sure this lap is going to be the one to do it. Maybe this is an outlap to set himself up for the next one. We are beginning to run out of time because we're under 3 minutes of the session remaining.
Absolutely. That means Andrew Morrow has this lap and then 2 more shots at this. But he decides not to take them, and as always we see that that tire management is a key thing, and the drivers will have to race. No, they don't have to, they want to race, but when they do that on the tires that they have used for qualifying. So every lap that you push during qualifying means it will have an effect on the tire longevity during the race. And Andrew Morrow decides that, well, you know, whatever I may be able to gain will be too much of a sacrifice for the race later on, and therefore dives into pit lane. As we do a little bit of a debrief after qualifying, the drivers do that with their engineers, with their team bosses, with their driver coaches, and with their significant others in some cases. Wherever you can get your feedback, it may just be the one that you need. We still have Max Mugello, who very late in the qualifying session goes out again. I'm not sure if that will be able to yield any meaningful result. Still going quick, however, is the 69 car, and that is
Marco Zanazzi.
Marco Zanazzi.
He was one of the main actors in our Trofeo Pirelli AM race yesterday, Nico.
And he was on pole yesterday in class, if I remember correctly.
I think you're right.
And he is currently only, and I say that with all due respect, only P4, so I can understand why he may feel that he has something more. There is Jean-Luc Darrier. This lap that he's currently on, track limit violation rather, has been recognized. But with 1 minute remaining, he has the ability to go again once more. Let's see what he does when he passes the pit entry, which he will do in about 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
He's in the pits.
Well, at least I timed that perfectly.
You did, actually. Back timing to perfection.
For once. The number 10 car, that is Kim Eriksson, who was involved in that incident that we talked about earlier with Laura Villars.
Hence the slightly different color to the front of the car.
Indeed, but I think they matched it to the color scheme fairly reasonable. P11 in class currently, but still going, with overtaken by the Max Mugello car, and we talked about him having come out of the pit lane. Let's see, Max Mugello currently only in P14 overall, P7.
Interesting conversation going on by those that were trading places, Timo Glock and Philippe Barron at the top of the chart. P1 and P2 they sit. Yeah, nice conversation there between Philippe Barron and Timo Glock. They were split, Nico. by 5/100ths. That's how close it was out there on track. We have the checkered flag out, and there's no one really offering us any real improvement, is there?
No, Max Mugello would have been the last one, and no personal improvement. Hanno Laskowski is the last one who's out there, but his split times indicate there's no going to be an improvement. So the timings, or rather the standings on the left of your screens are
How we will see the grid.
very likely. There is Philip Barron, Timo Glock, Luca Ludwig, and we'll bring all the results in full for you. Henrik Viol puts it on pole in Trofeo Pirelli Am.
Great job done by Hendrik. Engineered by the Scuderia Prague team. And yes, well done indeed to him. Herbert Gies, or Guys, I should say, makes his way into the garage, as indeed does very, very talented Laura Villas, who perhaps won't be quite where she hoped to be within class, but certainly knows and is able to overtake in the race as the Philippe Barron car is pushed back right now. It's Philippe Barron from Timo Glock and Luca Ludwig. For the Pirelli drivers, for the AM drivers, it's Hendrik Viol from James Owen and Klaus Branson. Another epic qualifying from James Owen, who really is feeling at one with this Ferrari 296. Well done, James, for Meridian, Modena, and Engstler team. So the calm before the storm, because the storm will come a bit later when the cars get out there and are racing in earnest. As we look at the Laura Villas car now, it is the number 5 Ferrari Challenge car that we will see lining up in the race a little bit later on. And, well, the old campaigner, team boss, back to racing driver again for Go Motorsport Barring Racing team. Philippe Barron puts it on pole. Here comes the classification then from our Pirelli and Pirelli Am qualifying session. 30 minutes out there on track for all of our drivers. As I mentioned, Philippe Barron going from pole position for the Trofeo Pirelli drivers, and Hendrik Viol, good pole position from Hendrik Viol for Scuderia Prague Racing. Well done to him. So yes, momentarily we'll bring you the complete classification before we get into our next qualifying session, and of course the race to come for our Trofeo Pirelli drivers. Here it comes then. Trofeo Pirelli Trofeo Pirelli classification was there for a moment. This is the Trofeo Pirelli Am one. Hendrik Viol from James Owen, Klaus Branson, Marco Zanazzi, Hanno Laskowski, and then it was Andrew Morrow and Danilo Del Favero. Someone is moving across those buttons very quickly on the graphics. Here's Trofeo Pirelli. Philippe Barron, Timo Glock, Luca Ludwig, Benz Valin, Jean-Luc Daria, Franz Engstler, and Max Mugello. That's the way it looks for the Trofeo Pirelli cars. So it's going to be a very interesting race. And once again, big up to Hendrik Viol, pole position. James Owen, P2, Klaus Branson, Marco Zanazzi, Hanno Laskowski, Andrew Morrow, Danilo Del Favero, Laura Villas going from P8. Within class, Angelo Fontana, Herbert Guys, Kim Eriksson, David Akabadze, Otto Blank, Gianmarco Marzioletti, and Matthias Thoman. They are ahead of Armin Arifport and Ruslan Sadriv. That's the way it looks in terms of Trofeo Pirelli Am classifications. So thank you very much from Nico and from myself for enjoying Trofeo Pirelli qualifying. We'll be back with more qualifying action from Mugello shortly, and of course the races to come this afternoon. Bye-bye for now. Hello everyone, welcome to qualifying for round one of the Ferrari Challenge 2024 in Europe. It will be qualifying for race 2, which will be this afternoon, but of course the whole weekend is our first round of the Ferrari Challenge Europe season for 2024. And we have our Copa Am drivers out there for qualifying in but a few moments from now. Exactly 4 minutes from now. Where are we? Well, we're in Tuscany in Italy with the blue skies. It's Mugello. And there you can see the climb up across the start-finish straight. There are 2 elevation changes as you come out of the final turn, which is turn number 14. And, well, what a really, really interesting calendar that has been designed for 2024, because we kick the season off here in Mugello. Then we go to brand new circuit, Balaton in Hungary. Then it's Jerez, then Portimao, and then La Casale. So across Spain, Portugal, and the south of France, it's quite a nice little summer sojourn, if you will, ahead of Nürburgring, which at the beginning of September can mean anything weather-wise, and then it's Imola. So, yes, a very, very exciting calendar. And with so many drivers driving in the Ferrari Challenge, it is going to be a magnificent year. Current weather conditions here in Mugello, track temperature 27 degrees, air temperature 16. We have 66% humidity and 4 kilometers per hour of hot air, which is blowing into this microphone. No, 4 kilometers per hour of just a little tiny, tiny breeze. So there we have it. Alongside me is Nico Spalek for qualifying for our Copa Am drivers, who have all now got some real meaningful race time in their wonderful new Ferrari 296 cars.
Absolutely, and the driver that we are looking at right now had the best time of it yesterday. Zois Skrimpias, really, really good showing from him. Well, I say he had the best time of it. He didn't win the race, but he had a really, really, really good race, given that this is pretty much his first racing experience.
Exactly,
and
yes.
He had a great qualifying, put it on to P1, and a great start. And even though he was overtaken at some point by Andreas Koenig, he really held his own and kept with him for pretty much the entire race distance, and really, really good showing. And overall, this kind of feels like the bonus race, because obviously, because of all the high number of entries that we have for this year's campaign in the Ferrari Challenge. And there actually is the Andreas Koenig car, the 104 car, which is red and white on the one side, green and white on the other side. So we always had 2 races per race day for Coppa Shell and Trofeo Pirelli. And now with the more than 70 entries, Ferrari was forced, and I say that in the best possible sense, to divide the Coppa Shell into 2 categories, Shell and Shell Am, as separate races. And that means we get 6 races per weekend. And you already talked about the calendar. We have great destinations for the rest of the calendar. And if you can make it, check out the calendar again at races.ferrari.com, and then pick the 1 or the 5 that are most suitable for you and come visit us on site. We really look forward to welcoming you. It's a great paddock, great people, great characters, great action on the track and all around it. So, I mean, come, please, join us.
There you are, the formal invitation as we look at Alvaro Ramos then, driving for the Santa Gol. Now, how do I pronounce this, Nico? Arasho Competencial? I think I've made a complete horlicks of that, if I'm honest with you. That is the new team that are supporting Alvaro Ramos. Go on, you have your best German effort at it.
No. I will not. I will not insult the lovely people of Portugal with my scant understanding
Which
of
I've done.
pronunciation. No, I'm sorry, but very welcome to the Portuguese team here in the Ferrari Challenge in 2024, and welcome to this qualifying session, Coppa Shell Am qualifying 2. It is Sunday, the 5th of May. We enjoy this, and we enjoy having you here with us on the program.
Yes, cars making the way out of the pit lane now. They have 30 minutes to qualify and set their grid position for the race to come a little bit later on today. Generally what happens is the drivers will go out on tyres that they used yesterday, midway-ish through the session, they'll come back in and put a new set of Pirelli tyres on for their final qualifying efforts ahead of the race. Of course, the tyres they qualify on will be the tyres that they race on. So there is some management of tyres that is considered part of any qualifying session. As we see Paolo Scudieri getting ready for his qualifying. And Paolo Scudieri finished on the podium yesterday, P3. Very, very good result for Paolo, who is really, really driving so well right now. A joy to watch him out there and his racecraft. So, as Nico has indicated, some 19 cars of our Shell Am class will be out there on track. And the engineers looking at data, drivers getting ready, including Shintaro Akatsu. There is Shintaro then, getting ready to go out on track. 5.245 kilometers, 14 turns. 6 of them are left-handers, 8 of them are right-handers. Sector 1 contains 3 turns. Sector 2, 6. Sector 3, 5. And we are seeing incredible lap times from these 296 cars. Brilliant to watch as Danilo Del Favaro in the background there taking some images as we get ourselves ready for this qualifying session. We can see the back end of the Andreas Koenig car. Andreas will be out on track very, very soon. Of the 19 competitors, only 5 of them are still in the pit lane. They are Paolo Scudieri, Andreas Koenig, as we just mentioned, Henrik Kamstrup, Shintaro Akatsu, and also Mutlu Tazev. Everyone else is out on track.
Yeah, absolutely, and it's great to see all those different liveries and all the cars coming out in the sunshine here in Mugello in Tuscany. It wasn't that way throughout the entirety of the week, so for the vast majority it was quite wet, as was Kota just 1 week ago, as you can attest. So it is not that many laps in dry conditions that the drivers have done in competitive environment, and therefore it is even more important to get more track time on the Pirelli slicks before then changing to the new set.
Just a week ago at this time locally, 11 o'clock when we were in Texas, I stood on a balcony watching the effect of a mini tornado and the wind associated with, because we got sort of the back end of that lifting structures out of the paddock and depositing them between turns 1 and 2, which was kind of them, not. But it was very, very short-lived, and yes, it was quite an experience, that's for sure. We're watching Jan Benedict Sandman then for Kessel Racing, driving the 186. I'm delighted to welcome Jan Benedict into the Ferrari Challenge. You and I met him for the first time of asking in race terms at the Winter Challenge earlier on this year in Abu Dhabi. I actually met him at the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix, which was late last year, of course, where he was there as part of the wonderful Casa Ferrari that goes on alongside the Abu Dhabi Grand Prix. Really, really talented driver, as indeed is Giuseppe Ramelli, driving for Pellin Racing. And Giuseppe Ramelli then, who will be hoping to right the wrongs of yesterday, the wrongs of him having had to take a drive-through penalty, which somewhat ruined his race because he was driving really, really quickly. We'll see what Giuseppe Ramelli, you can never rule him out of being right at the top of the chart in terms of racing and qualifying, Nico.
Yeah, definitely. He certainly showed that he has the pace in the new car, as he did in the previous incarnation of the Ferrari Challenge machinery. And there is Sois Scrimpius with a very distinctive green and yellow livery. And the Greek flag on the mirrors indicating his heritage, and great to see so many nationalities all across the Ferrari Challenge paddock and categories. And obviously just a great camaraderie all around this paddock here. 5 minutes have already elapsed, and we're now seeing the first relatively meaningful time, and Guy Favet has put it on to P1 for the time being, a 890, but we will see those times come down throughout the session. We expect times more in the 152s come the end of this session, which was where we ended up yesterday. So not quite the end of what's achievable with those wonderful cars around this Mugello circuit. But it's always good to have a banker as early as possible.
Absolutely. You were mentioning about the eclectic mix of nationalities that compete in the Ferrari Challenge. Another driver that we met, you and I, for the first time earlier on this year in the Winter Challenge, Hassan Daboussi, who originates from Lebanon, racing for Formula Racing, and had a very good time of it in the Winter Challenge. His first experience of Ferrari Challenge racing, so enjoyed it. Is going to compete in the European season, and actually Nico is doing a good job out there. He's 10th fastest, so well done to Hassan Daboussi. You're very welcome. Great that you're among the pack of the 19 Kobe Shalom drivers that are out there on our Ferrari Challenge qualifying. Talking of Hassan, he's going so quickly that he's just exceeded the track limits a little bit and had his lap time deleted.
Yeah, the one not so welcome addition everywhere to the Ferrari Challenge is the warning about track limits if your number is associated with that. The prototypical place here at Mugello this weekend is turn number 4, where it's actually the inside of the track, where drivers always try to get the shortest line into the chicane, and sometimes that line is just that tad little bit too short off all 4 wheels off the tarmac, and that means no, you took an advantage there, and that lap time won't count.
Yes, basically the rule is you can have 2 wheels across the white line, but when you make it 4 wheels, then our race stewarding team take a look at it, and the thing is there's kind of no getting away with it, Nico, because Giuseppe Romelli not only exceeds the track limits, but also that of the AstroTurf as well, and finds a little bit of gravel as he's pushing really hard. The race stewarding team, they're firm but fair, and everyone is treated equally. And Giuseppe Romelli, who is at the moment trying to best the time, and Giuseppe Romelli then we will see next time whether he can keep it within the white lines and really go for it. Again, the 186 car that we can see here of Jan Sanderman for Kessel Racing, personal bests across Sector 1 and Sector 2. You can see the little blue bars across the clock that's counting his lap time. Well, blue colours means it's a personal best time. Purple colour means it's best of anyone, and so best overall. But Jan Sandman, who is currently 3rd fastest, this could be an improvement as he climbs uphill now through the first uphill section of the start-finish straight, heading towards breaking the timing beam now. Let's see if it is an improvement. No, because Sector 3 he lost time. Car 119 is another car and driver combo that has had a lap time deleted, and that of course is Louis Perusquia, the Rosso Corsa racer, and Louis, one of our North America racers that chooses also to race in the European Challenge too, and he's very welcome. And here, much as we suggested, Nico, drivers coming in, having done their first sort of set of laps and putting a new set of Pirelli tyres on.
Yeah, exactly. Why do the drivers do that? They want to get into the rhythm, they want to experience how the car feels, maybe try 1 or 2 things in terms of the setup, which they may have updated from yesterday, and once they feel like, yeah, okay, we've sorted those things out, then they switch to the new set of Pirelli tires. And obviously the track in the morning, even though it's late morning now, still evolves, still gets quicker with additional temperature and additional rubber laid down, so you expect the quicker times to come towards the end of the session. But obviously that's where also generally traffic is at its peak, and that means getting a clean lap can come at a premium.
Fair point, very well made, as is often the case, not always, but often.
Thank you.
My friend and colleague alongside me, Andrea Levi, then, is currently 7th fastest. But again, to reinforce the colour bars, purple meaning overall best, blue that we can see here means personal best, so it could be an improvement for Levi. Indeed it is. He vaults himself 4 places, Nico, and goes 3rd fastest, still 2.5 behind the best time that we've seen so far, which is into the 54s as we watch Maurizio Pittori driving the 181 car, but I rather feel that he's bailed this lap. Sector 1 and Sector 2 were personal best. What they'll do is they'll bail in the 3rd sector if the delta is not looking on target, and they'll use the final part of the lap, if you will, to set themselves up for another hot lap.
Yeah, absolutely. Very well explained there. Maurizio Pittori is now using that final turn as a slingshot, or is he going to dive into the pit lane and say, yeah, that set of tires has run its course? No, he goes again. And let's see where he ends up at the end of this lap. We get first purple sectors now on our timing screen. Maurizio Pittori with a marginal improvement. Shintaro Akatsu, who was extremely entertaining in the race, was almost constantly in battle, sometimes attacking, sometimes defending, was really visible and showed really, really great racecraft throughout the race yesterday.
Got to give a shout out to Dr. Stephen Earle for Kessel Racing, who's gone second fastest. And here is the very entertaining driver that we were talking about, or rather my friend Nico was, and that is Shintaro Akatsu, who is currently fifth fastest. And purple through sector 1. Sector 2, not quite so good. Can he make it up in sector 3? I rather feel that he's probably decided it's going to be the next lap that will become meaningful as he begins to once again build everything, the momentum up. There is the familiar orange and blue livery of Lisa Clark. Last year's Copa Chelan champion in North America, Nico, and raced a lot in Europe last year, and that's her plan again this year. Really loves the challenge of the competition that is afforded, the very, very high level within categories. And Lisa really takes motivation from that, and I have to say she is a hugely welcome addition to the Ferrari Challenge racing here in Europe, which we've enjoyed Lisa being on the grid for a number of years now. Here is Mutlu Tazev then for Emil Fry Racing. There's so many big teams that are involved in the Ferrari Challenge, Nico. Emil Fry is one that's very, very familiar to you. And a number of teams, including new teams that like Reparto Corsa Ram, who are here and engineering Zeus Skrimpias. And we've also got Go Motorsport and Haupt Racing Team who are here. It's brilliant to see HRT in the Ferrari Challenge. And I was talking to team boss over the course of the weekend from the Haupt Racing Team. One, Mr. Manuel Reuter, himself a hugely successful racing driver, and I'm saying it's not beyond the realms of possibility that Hubert Haupt will have one or two guest entries in the Ferrari Challenge, so that would be something to see. And I look forward to seeing Uli Fritz, who's managing director of the team, and yeah, he will be in and around the paddocks, I feel sure, during our wonderful season for 2024.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, we've said it so many times, the Ferrari Challenge is also a springboard for ascending drivers. And when you see that those marquee teams who've been around motorsport for so many years come into the Ferrari Challenge, and I think that's really a trend, especially over the last few years, you can sense that is resonated not only for the drivers but for the teams who recognize the value of the challenge and the challenge that lies within the competition here.
Yes.
And that is really remarkable. And remarkable was the drive from Andreas Koenig, who made a stunning overtake yesterday through the final turn, the Puccini turn, going from P3 to P1 within a couple of meters. He was helped, it has to be said, by Maurizio Pittori taking a drive-through penalty, but even though he did it in one turn and got from P3 to P1 and never relinquished said lead, even though it didn't come easy, Zeus Skrimpiak really mature drive and kept with him for almost the entirety of the race. But Andreas Koenig made no mistake and got the win as a result. Great showing from him. Mutlu was not quite as lucky yesterday, but he is going to right the wrongs, hopefully. From his point of view, this lap certainly looks like a marked improvement. Both sectors 1 and 2 showing in positive colors, which in that case is purple and light blue. 1:54.346 the current pole time is not going to be quite as good, but a marked improvement, P6 for the time being.
Talking of marked improvements, let's pick up on Henrik Kamstrup, who's gone purple in Sector 1 and Sector 2. Now, Henrik Kamstrup, here he is. Thank you, guys. The metallic blue livery of Henrik Kamstrup, who is driving for Formula Racing. He's currently 5th fastest. However, he is on target if he can nail the final turn perfectly. to send himself higher up the order than P5. Here comes Henrik Kamstrup there, giving it 100% on the loud pedal as he climbs uphill for the first time of asking before crossing the timing line. And for Henrik Kamstrup, it is a new provisional P1 pole position. He's taken just over a second out of the previous best time, so could see that really building from Henrik, and our TV crew making sure that we followed that all the way until the line. So this is Andreas Koenig. Now, Andreas is also looking for an improvement too. It's blue for Sector 1, it's blue for Sector 2. What can Andreas Koenig do in the final sector? You don't necessarily have to light up every sector purple to become faster than anybody else, but you're certainly going to need, I would suggest, one purple sector across them. And so it may not necessarily be this lap that will trouble the very, very front runners, but it will certainly vault him up the order as he heads towards breaking the timing beam now for Andreas Koenig. It is going to be a he's 1.9 seconds down, so the reason for that is because of a track limits excursion, which Nico has just pointed out to me, which meant the lap time got deleted.
Yeah, unfortunately, but you could see that Andreas and quite a few of the other drivers are now going through their progression after the pit stop, and you can see the times building and getting better. And Akatsu, also one of the drivers who has come out of the pit lane. The previous lap wasn't the improvement that he was looking for, but the first sector, even though it's not marked in any specific color, it was just marginally slower than the current pole time. So he's still very much on trajectory. Now that second sector, not quite there, but again, we don't quite always know in a given sector. There may just have been that bit of traffic that turns a absolute blistering time into a so-so time, but it doesn't mean that there is not the applicable speed in the car, and Akatsu will try and set himself up for that very next lap. But as you can see, there are cars ahead of him that may or may not hamper his progress. Certainly goes by the Zoe Sprimpia's car there, as Giuseppe Romelli just puts it into P1. And therefore heads our timing screen, a 1:52.853, and I dare say he's going to go again.
First driver to put it into the 52s is Giuseppe Romelli. Henrik Kamstrup is next fastest. Then it's a big shout out to Eric Chung, who is another long-time campaigner in the Ferrari Challenge. He's P3, and right in the middle of the shot there is Stefano Guy, who will be looking after Paolo Scudieri, who is coming out of the pit lane because Paolo Scudieri's not set a time yet. So Paolo Scudieri is going to do that pretty soon, as Andreas Koenig now goes to the top of the chart with a 1:52.189. And this is the very driver and car combo that has just delivered that 1:52.189 for Andreas Koenig. And Andreas, of course, on the top step of the podium yesterday for Go HRT. Love to be able to repeat that today. Would love to be on pole position, and would love to bank the point, Nico, that comes with earning pole position from qualifying. That's something that we've seen time and time again at the end of the championship year. Having banked a few of those pole positions and the point that goes with it can make all the difference.
Absolutely. Giuseppe Romelli is trying to snatch that point away, but Andreas Koenig also quick. So we actually have a race within qualifying. The race for that one extra point and the pole position that comes with it. That may have just been that little bit of traffic that cost Andreas Koenig on this way around, but he's still fighting. He hasn't lifted, and so he's still going. Let's see what that second sector looks like. Certainly we're watching Giuseppe Romelli's time.
Still purple.
And still purple. He lost a little bit of time in fairness. Giuseppe Romelli, no such problems, just edged Andreas Koenig, as you can see from the standings at the left side of your screen. So there is Romelli, Koenig, Kamstrup, Gifave, Eric Chung, Akatsu, as we enter the final 10 minutes of this qualifying session. Can Andreas Koenig do something about that?
Giuseppe Romelli, the first driver to put it into the 1:51s, a 1:51.789, 4 tenths quicker than Andreas Koenig last time around. Here comes Andreas Koenig, lost time in the middle sector. That's dropped him down to P3 now. He does improve to P2, and we now have 3 drivers into the 51s. Giuseppe Romelli, Andreas Koenig and Eric Chung. And they are all within a couple of tenths of each other. So it's very, very close out there as we watch Giuseppe Romelli, who feels that he has the pace underneath him to go still faster. And by dint of the purple Sector 1, Giuseppe Romelli is doing just that. The 172 driver, engineered by Stefano Pellin and Pellin Racing. Giuseppe Romelli then on a mission here, and we are talking now minuscule margins of gain that you can take. Track limits are going to be a problem for Giuseppe Romelli, who's on 2 purple sectors, but we can ignore them, Nico, because you've spotted the little white bar on our timing screen which says TL. Doesn't mean 10 to love on this occasion, it means something quite different.
Yeah, no love for track limits in that case, and Giuseppe Romelli will have been told by his team that actually this lap doesn't count. Oh, and he goes wide, and the problem there is that was at the exit of the final turn, and that means he lost a lot of momentum. So the next lap he's entering, he is entering on the back foot effectively, because he's just lost a few kilometers per hour entering the new lap, and that will cost a few 100s. And Henrik Kamstrup, meanwhile, we talked about his improvement. He has improved indeed into P1, 151.334 for the Dane, who has taken P1. It's a replay of the 120 car going around, and that is Guy Favre.
Now, we have 2 or 3 banks of screens here in our studio, which gives us the opportunity to see some of the things that are going on in the pit lane and in the garages. We can also see that, and this is the very image I wanted to show you. This is potential disaster for Paolo Scudieri. He's being rebelted. I just think that his belts had come loose during him being out there. I say disaster because he's going to be on the back foot now when it comes to qualifying, because by the time he's got out, there's probably only going to be 6 minutes of qualifying session remaining. He has got to really, really hit the ground running when he does come out of the pit lane, Nico, as we look at Jan Sandman for Kessel Racing, who's currently P10, hoping to improve that. Sector 2, I don't know whether it was traffic, but Sector 2 was not where he wanted it to be in terms of time. As I said, you don't need every sector purple, every one of the 3. Is this going to be an improvement? Yes, it is. 4 places better for Jan Sandman, which would be a row 3 start if everything stopped right now. And Shintaro, who Nico was saying was very, very entertaining yesterday, getting something of a tank slapper on there, managing to save the car. Well done. And I wonder if that's brought about by some gravel being out there on the track, just losing a little bit of traction. Mowing the lawn nicely for the Mugello curating team of the landscape, and getting it pointing in the right direction, and off we go again.
Absolutely. Zoe Skrimpias, who was on pole yesterday, a little bit out of position. I mean, we already said he doesn't have all that much racing experience, but he did really, really well, not only by the timing, but also very mature drive when under pressure. He's currently down in P50, but trying to improve, and puts it onto the front row provisional P2, just underscoring what we just said.
Absolutely.
Great performance.
We can see from one of the screens I was talking about that Giuseppe Romelli has parked the car now, and he is P4, and is probably not going to get any better than P4, that's for sure. So Jan Sandman and Paolo Scudieri, we can sense from our timing screen, is on his way out of the pit lane now. He's only going to have 5 minutes to set a qualifying time, and truthfully, Nico, he's probably going to get 1 or maybe 2 hot laps before the checkered flag has come out on the session. Henrik Kamstrup is on a mission, Nico. A 151.334. I can't see any track limits against his cumulative time. So Henrik Kamstrup, who will run to the line shortly as we see Jan Sandman cross the line. I wonder if we'll get to see Henrik Kamstrup as he heads towards the line. It could be a new provisional pole from this car and this driver combo. Henrik Kamstrup then for Formula Racing. He is already P1 with a 151.334. Can he best even his time of 151.334? Well, here he comes right now. And he does it, and he does it by quite a margin as well, Nico.
Indeed he does, but he needs to get up the road because there is Zoe Scrimpias that we watch on our timing screen, the green and yellow car. Thanks guys for picking it up. More than a second quicker through 2 sectors.
That's
so
amazing.
You can almost bet on that second becoming a first in just a few seconds time, unless there was traffic we missed, but I don't think so. Indeed, lost a little bit of time indeed in the final sector, but a 150.579 just as the clock hits the 4-minute mark remaining. Zoe Scrimpias again.
For a driver that has, no racing experience, he has come into this with a brand new team, Ineco Reparto Corsa Ram, and he has really, really made us sit up and take notice.
Oh, absolutely. No question about that. Talk about developing drivers, and the Ferrari Challenge is delivering in every category. Zoe Scrimpias, just the latest proof of that. I mean, 2 races, 2 pole positions. Well,
that's 2 points.
That is incredible. Really, really incredible. Now, here we have Jan Sandman, currently running P7. Don't think this one's going to be an improvement. 3 minutes remaining, and we look who's on doing what. Eric Chung trying to get up from his P4 position, possibly onto the front row, but he would have to edge Henrik Kamstrup and or Zoe Scrimpias to do that.
Forgive me, Nico, saying oh no. It was nothing to do with Eric Chung. It was to do with Paolo Scudieri, who is running out of time to be out there and set a good qualifying time. He's just picked up a track limits violation through Sector 2, which is going to mean that the lap that he's on right now is not going to count. The lap time is going to be deleted, so he's going to get, potentially just 1 more lap. I can't quite see where, maybe 2. Can't quite see where he is on the track at the moment. Eric Chung then is improving. So too is Andrea Levi, and here is Eric Chung then, as he rounds the final turn of this somewhat roller coaster-like circuit and bails the lap and decides enough is enough. Andrea Levy then, Sector 1 purple, Sector 2 personal best by dint of it being blue. So for the 171 car, this could be, well, it is going to be an improvement from his current P3, wearing the gold roof as if Finale Mondiale success has already found his way, which is really, really enticing color combo across the car. So Zoe Scrimpias, well done Zoyce, another great qualifying with a time of 150.579, the only time in the 150s. Paolo Scudieri now, Nico, is doing personal bests, and I don't see any of the track limits as Andrea Levi does another superb time and goes to the top with a 150.185. So all of a sudden, Zoe Scrimpias, his pole position has been wrestled away from him. And here comes Paolo Scudieri. We need a good time from Paolo to elevate him up the order. And it's P12. There's more to come from Paolo Scudieri. But this, Nico, will be his last lap.
Absolutely. 1 minute remaining. That means he can finish that lap, but it won't be another one after that.
There is his driver coach, Stefano Guy, looking at the times, and well, you can sense from the facial expressions from Stefano, it's not going the way he wants it to go for the Reparto Corsa Ram team. They sat with that pole position for quite some time, and huge credit to Zoe Scrimpias. He's just been bested by Andrea Levi. Henrik Kamstrup is third fastest, and here is Paolo Scudieri. And his cumulative time is better, Nico, personally. So he needs to find real pace across Sector 2 and Sector 3 to elevate himself from a row 6 starting position at the moment. We know Paolo can overtake cars, but you always make your job a lot easier if you're as far up the grid as you can possibly be, limiting those overtakes that you've got to make. And well, Paolo Scudieri then, he was disadvantaged by virtue of the fact that think there was some issue with the his seatbelts have become loose, and I think he's bailed the lap now, Nico. I'm not sure. In any event, the cumulative time is such that he might see an improvement personally, but he's not gonna trouble the front runners on terms of qualifying.
No, definitely not. Somehow he and the car are not in sync today, which is rare because all the drivers have told us how good the new car is. But whatever it is, he's not quite troubling the front runners, which means Andrea Levy will be on pole position. Paolo Scudieri P12 for the time being, and it is an improvement in terms of time, but it stays behind Stephen Earle.
We could see from some of the images that we get in our studio, we could see the team working inside the car, and I think honestly it was nothing other than belt retightening. But anything that upsets your rhythm, it upsets it for the entire session. There's Stefano Guy talking to him right now, and Paolo will be disappointed, but we know that Paolo can do some overtaking. Great qualifying from Eric Chung, who will go from second row because it's P4 for Eric Chung. Henrik Kamstrup 1 place ahead of him. He goes from P3. And for Andrea Levi, Rosso Corsa P1. And Zeus Skrimpias with very little racing experience. Another great showing in qualifying. He is one of only 2 drivers, and this being the other one, to put the cars into the 150s, Nico.
Absolutely, and Andrea Levy, he gets the Rotoform pole position award, and that, along with the point and the clear view towards the safety car come race time later this afternoon. I mean, it's the trifecta in qualifying, and he will look to transform that pole position into the race win, obviously, and thus transform a good start from yesterday into an outstanding start to the season here in Mugello. That has been qualifying here at Mugello circuit, and we will go racing in just 2.5 hours from now. And for the drivers, it will be relaxing, cooling down, looking at data, seeing what they can do for the race to prepare themselves in the optimal way. Having prepared himself in the best way possible, Andrea Levy has done everything he could this morning. Sounds satisfied, even though we don't quite understand everything.
No, I think it is. I think you're right. I think it's audio of satisfaction, isn't it? Here's confirmation of the classification then. Andrea Levy then P1. Zeus Skrimpias P2. Henrik Kamstrup P3. Then it's Eric Chung ahead of Andreas Koenig, Giuseppe Romelli, Jan Sandman, Shintaro Akatsu, Roland Hertner, Guy Favre, Stephen Earle, Paolo Scudieri, Josef Schumacher, Lisa Clark, Mutlu Tazev, Maurizio Pittori, Hassan Dabusi, Louis Peruskia, and Alvaro Ramos. That's the way it looks. Number of drivers then, potentially out of position. What does that mean for the race? Means it's going to be a humdinger to watch. It's going to be really, really entertaining. From Nico and myself, thank you so much for watching qualifying. We'll see you for the races to come this afternoon, live from Mugello. Bye-bye.